Gary Payton II was a massive part of the Golden State Warriors championship run. Whether it was his defense, athleticism, or overall enthusiastic nature, he always had a massive impact on the game. So it was definitely a surprise when the Warriors allowed Payton to leave in free agency to the Portland Trail Blazers. Payton has been out nearly all season with an abdominal injury, but he's finally back and he looked pretty damn good in his debut. Why the Warriors let this man walk in free agency, only the man upstairs knows. But the question is, what kind of season will GP2 have and how will he impact the Blazers moving forward? Well, let's talk about it. GP2 was a huge part of the Warriors championship run. He added something that the roster at the time didn't have. His energy and willingness to do anything the team needed was a perfect complement to Steph and Klay's game. The funny thing is that most people thought he was a rookie last year just because he just burst out of the scene and came in from pretty much nowhere. But the fact is he was already 29 in his 5th or 6th season. He'd been bouncing around and working so hard to finally get an opportunity on a roster and a big time contract. And the Warriors just happened to be the place where he found a permanent home. Of course, Gary is an incredible defender. That's what most people know him by. And when your dad is Gary Payton, it's not hard to see how those skills translated. Of course, he's highly athletic as well, and he had hella posters last season. The amount of head taps I saw was unbelievable. He definitely gets up. We need to see him in a dunk contest. But the thing that set him apart last season from all his other seasons in the league where he was trying to find his way was that he finally developed a consistent three-point shot. He didn't have that in all the other opportunities he's had with other NBA teams like the Lakers, Bucks, and Washington. But with the Warriors, he finally developed that, and that allowed him to stay on the court for things other than just his athleticism and enthusiasm. Last year with the Warriors, he put together all his past skills that he had with his athleticism and defense and combined it with some of the newer skills that he acquired, like his shooting and even a bit of his playmaking. And this led him to find a permanent home there, averaging 7 points, 1.4 steals, shooting like 62% from the field and 36% from three, which is unbelievable. So it was clear that when the Blazers nabbed him away from the Warriors, they were getting a really important piece for their defense and for their offense as well. If you guys enjoy this video and you want to come to a place where you can just relax and listen to some basketball on some of the more underrated players, teams, situations in the league, then you're in the right place. I'll be trying to upload 2 videos a week for the rest of the NBA season, so if that interests you, consider hitting a like and a sub. And if you want to hear more real-time takes and some of the things that I've got to say on things in the NBA that just don't make the channel, then check out my Twitter. It'll be in the link in the description. Now let's get back to the Blazers and Gary Payton II. As I mentioned, he'd been out all year with this abdominal strain, and he was a massive pickup for the Blazers in the offseason that they have not had for the whole season. So it's pretty incredible that the Blazers have managed still a pretty successful season thus far and an incredibly competitive Western Conference. In his debut, GP2 looked very healthy and he looked like he hadn't missed a beat. The athleticism was still there, the intelligence looked to be still there as well, and he fit relatively well into a Portland system that he had played 0 games in already. In 13 minutes, he had 7 points, 4 assists, and shot 3 of 4 from the field and 1 of 1 from 3 as well, which is pretty darn good for your first game in a new uniform. And this was great for him as well, that it was in a blowout win against a Pistons team that has no desire in winning any actual NBA games. They just win a few here and there to make it look like they want to win some games, but they're looking at Wembanyama, and I don't blame him. Making his debut and playing in this blowout environment allowed him to have a little bit less pressure to be immediately incorporated into the offense and contributing right away. But he still did these 2 things regardless. He even displayed some pretty impressive playmaking skills on quite a few occasions. He had 4 assists and he had 1 ridiculous assist on a lob to Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon just floated through the air, and those 2 are going to have tons of highlights all season, whether it be dunks, blocks. They are one of the most athletic, exciting duos in the NBA. Of course, Payton in his debut showed his defense as well, and Payton is going to add to an already improved Blazers defense with some of the acquisitions that they've picked up this season, like Jeremy Grant, Josh Hart from halfway through last season, and Gary himself. This adds to a more competitive Blazers defense that they've really identified as an area that they need to improve on if they want to win any legitimate games in the playoffs. Currently, the Blazers are 20th in defensive rating, which is not too bad considering GP2 has been out for the whole season and he's one of their major defensive pieces. But once he gets more incorporated into the lineup and the rotation, that number is surely going to go up and they're going to become at least a top 12 defense, which would lead them to be a pretty serious contender if they can get to that mark. GP2 will probably stay on the bench for the rest of the season, just due to the Blazers' rotation and balancing the starting lineup. But even with coming off the bench, Gary is going to have a massive role this season in terms of his playmaking off the bench, his athleticism, and defense as well. He's going to get tons of minutes regardless in the regular season or the playoffs. In my opinion, the Blazers are one of the most slept on squads in the West and in the whole entire NBA. With the new defensive focus and some of the new roster guys that they've picked up and some of the younger guys developing like Anthony and Shaden, who's going to be one for the future, there is no reason why they shouldn't be a serious contender this season. And if I was any team in the top of the West from first to fourth, I would not want to face the Blazers in the first round. And the way that their offseason acquisitions have performed, especially Jeremy Grant, they are definitely serious for sure. And if Gary can be anything close to the way that Jeremy has performed, then the NBA is in for a real scare if you're not a Blazers fan. The Blazers are legit, and GP2 is going to be a massive part of it, no matter how good they're going to be. And they're going to be pretty damn good. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, stay rested. See you in the next one.